Is there music that actually impossible to play perfectly? Spoiler, yes, and today is going straight into SS tier of my list. Today we will rank my repertoire based on how much blood and tears each piece cost me. For those who don't know, tier list is just a visual way to rank different things. We are taking pieces I've performed and sorting it into categories from SS, impossible, down to C, not too hard. But keep in mind, just because the piece isn't C tier doesn't mean that it is easy. It's just that compared to the monsters at the top, these aren't quite as terrifying. Let's see which scores pushed me to my absolute limit. I performed it with orchestra in the finals of 3 different international competitions. As a kid, I associated French music with something light and airy, but Tomasi is anything but. Currently, it's my favorite concerto because of its raw energy. It perfectly showcases the power of saxophone compared to other woodwinds. Technical-wise, it's not incredibly difficult and there are plenty of spots to recover your strength. But there are a few nasty moments, like that awkward passage in the cadenza or sections in the second movement. Verdict: solid B tier. Total hit in the contemporary solo repertoire. Pulse was my first encounter with Vincent music, and little did I know I'd eventually learn his entire impulse. When you listen it first time, you think, is that even possible on saxophone? It opens the world of truly complex modern music for me. It packed with every single special technique on saxophone: frullato, slap, quasi-slap, multiphonics and overtones. If you've never dealt with this before, it's a nightmare. But once you master the techniques, it becomes much less intimidating. It doesn't require infinite polishing because the rhythm and energy is much more important than 100% precision. That's the only reason it's not an SS. S tier. A piece of straightforward contrasts. The American saxophone world is quite different from European one, and I really enjoyed trying to adapt myself into American style. The main challenge is to show maximum of contrast between dark and mysterious first movement and the aggressive power of the second. You must keep this spark through the entire play. Despite that, I'm putting it in C tier. And don't get me wrong, it's not easy at all, but compared with others, it's faster to learn and has much lower risk of falling apart during a performance. Everyone's favorite, it's beautiful, bright and unique. what I really love about Ibert is that you don't need to reinvent the wheel with your interpretation. The music is simple in the best way, but that's also a trap. It's full of tricky passages that have to sound effortless and light. While it's not the most technical piece on the list, just because of altissimo section on the second movement, I can put it lower than 18. Denis wrote something incredibly beautiful and equally punishing. The thing is that he was poorly focused to make the music without thinking to make it comfortable for player, obviously because it was written for competition. Every single movement is a struggle. The first with insane technical runs. Usually when I play, I try to control everything, like fingers, but when I played the first movement of 5 visions, it was impossible. The only thing you can do to practice, and after to play automatically, without control. The second, when you've given all your strength to the first movement, after your embouchure has to find the power to control intonation and the sound. And right after that, altissimo on pianissimo. Remember what I said about Ibert? It doesn't even compare. The third, by the time you learn quartet on scales, you'll already grow old. But even when you have learned them, because of tempo it's still a lottery. The fourth might not seem as difficult as others, and it's so, but don't forget that you already spent all of your power for the first 3 movements, and it will not be so easy. The fifth, legato from low register to the altissimo is something. And of course be natural that you have to hold until your lungs stick together. And I think it's very cool, because it's a truly difficult challenge to write such a complex piece while preserving musical imagery and to make it sound interesting not only to saxophonists, but to regular people. And Denis did an excellent job. No doubt SS tier. I know, please don't throw tomatoes at me, but I'm putting this in the tier. But I will explain. The real difficulty is to make the depth of the sound and phrasing on the maximum level. That's often harder than playing fast notes, but the list is about which pieces gave me much problems. I grew up listening to Nikita Zimin's recording, which was gold standard for me. By the time I started practice it, and the settings was already in my head. Technically, it's simple enough and there are no surprises in the concert. I've performed this piece more than anything else from this list. Technically, it's fine, except for the third movement. The real challenge is the sense of flexibility and lightness it requires. For people like me, who has very serious attention to the music, it's very hard to achieve that airiness in sound, and I'm still working on it. I'll put it in B tier, just right to Tomasi. It's higher than Muczynski, just because for me, the stylistic demands and the variety of imagery were much harder to master. the freshest piece in my repertoire. Prelude is a great workout for the intervals. Cadence is legendary and final will make you sweet. The piece requires solid fundamental technique. I had to experiment with articulation, especially for the fourth page, solid A tier. Let's think again. What can the difficulty of the piece consist of? Difficulty in learning, difficulty during performance, special techniques, endurance, and a lot of others. Well, in Mirage I really can't find any single thing that is not on the maximal level of difficulty. It starts okay, but already you should find right image in your head while integrating special techniques. You also have to work very hard in ensemble and spend a lot of power and time. Gradually, you realize that half of the text now is on altissimo register, and after to this altissimo you add forlato. Then, already usual for us, altissimo and pianissimo, and we arrive to the fast part, which meet us with impossible altissimo passage. The entire fast section is an endless marathon of double tonguing, after which you are completely drained. Another page of impossible difficulty. And now comes the reason why I put this piece on the first place, the slow section. It seems like it should be an oasis after all of the action, but for me it was the hardest thing ever. When you've been playing 80% on fortissimo for 10 minutes, your breath is circulating in huge volumes, your heart is pounding, and suddenly, in 10 seconds, you need to change the image. You need to calm down physically and mentally, and now you should make really beautiful sound. And then we're returning to the familiar environment of double tonguing and altissimo with stormy final. To sum up, there is not a single moment that I could call simple. Even for a pianist, it's also a nightmare. But I think it's really wonderful that composers like Vincent and Jean Denis becoming the classical repertoire for our generation. Their music develops the skills of the saxophonist, shows the possibilities of our beautiful instrument, and the most important, their incredible application. Unconditional SS tier. So, it's my list. Remember, it's purely subjective. What is hard for me might be easy for you. What is the hardest piece for you? For me, it will be very interesting to argue with you in comments. And see you in the next one.